Hello, and welcome to Play Talk Repeat episode 6. As always, I'm Oliver, and I'm joined by Niall, Alex, and Lewis. This episode, we're talking about our video game book club game, which is Metroid Dread. First of all, a little bit of background on the game. It was released October 8th this year. It is the
Do you not want the jingle?
You can give me the jingle, go for it, give me the jingle.
Okay. All right, you ready? One second. I need to take off noise suppression.
We got music.
Oh, yeah, we always have music. All right.
Do we?
Stepping it up this time.
Video game book club.
I like that one. I actually liked it. I
I
can't even make a TikTok about how bad that was because it was actually good. Well done, Niall. All right.
Thanks.
Anyway, bit of background on the game. It was released October 8th this year. It is the fifth and supposedly final game in the mainline Metroid saga, which doesn't include the Prime series or the M or anything like that. The saga started way back in 1986 with the original Metroid on NES. Dread was released exclusively for Switch and is a 2D Metroidvania, obviously, style game. Now, can we have opening? I'm going to start with my opening statement, I believe. So, Metroid Dread. It truly feels like Nintendo have brought Metroid into the modern era. Nintendo have a lot of competition these days for like Metroidvania games with the likes of Hollow Knight, Ori, Bloodstained. So I think it's important that they brought the Metroidvania up to date with those kind of things, because if you look back at like, Fusions and Super Metroid and stuff, they are quite dated when you compare it to the newer kind of Metroidvanias. For me, it's a solid 8 out of 10 game. It's close to a 9. There are a couple of things that let it down slightly in my mind, but it's like still an excellent game, and it's definitely the best 2D Metroid game so far. Niall, can we have your opening statement, please?
So different from everyone else, I didn't actually complete the game, but I did play for 10 hours. I got about 2/3 of the way through the game, and it just never really grabbed me. I mean, out of those 10 hours, I played 8 hours before this podcast today. I started at 6 in the morning. It's currently 2 o'clock. And the reason for that is, I mean, like I started playing it on the 8th when I got it, I believe, or it might have been the 9th. And just every time I turned the game on, it just didn't grab me. With other Metroidvanias like Hollow Knight, the reason why I wanted to get these abilities wasn't to progress like I feel like it is in Metroid. Like, you're only getting abilities because you have to. I mean, Hollow Knight, you have to as well. But the motivation in Hollow Knight was just to explore the world, and to meet new characters and to see more of the game. Also, Metroid, it always felt like, because that's just what you had to do.
So what other Metroidvania games have you played and liked?
None.
So it's just Hollow Knight that you like, really. It's not.
I played Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and that was I like that. And I played Super Metroid, but I've never completed Metroidvania apart from Hollow Knight.
Okay, and
which is weird because
complete.
Yeah, Hollow Knight took me about 45 hours to complete, and I didn't 100% it or anything like that. It just took me a long time to complete it. Like, I'm pretty sure I didn't even explore an entire area. That's the good thing about Hollow Knight. Like, they expect it, and they encourage you to, like, what you would call in this Metroid game is, like, a sequence break. Right? You can go to a bunch of different areas completely out of order, and it won't break the game, and that's because they expect it and they want you to do that, and it feels more organic, like exploring the world. With this Metroid game, I'd feel like I was making choices, and I feel like I was going on my own path, but then I realized, and I look at the map, this is the only path I could have gone on in order to progress. Any other path, and it would have been a complete dead end. You wouldn't be able to do anything.
But isn't that the essence of a Metroidvania? Really?
Well, like, no. Well, yeah.
Closed off to you.
Yeah, exactly. But like the fact that Hollow Knight, this isn't a Hollow Knight podcast, but the fact that Hollow Knight allowed you to go on completely different paths and explore at your own pace and do different things. Like, you could fight the final 3 bosses, for example, or before the final boss, the 3 bosses before the final boss in completely any order. You can go to any area. Just off the top of my head, something that's really cool is that if you decide to grind and save your way up to getting the lantern, which allows you to see in the dark in Hollow Knight, you can go to an area of the map that you wouldn't be able to get to until like you've unlocked like 6 areas. Before you even unlock the second area, you can go there and you can explore it, and that's completely fine. But yeah, with maybe that's why Hollow Knight's the best Metroidvania. I don't know.
I wouldn't say. I
mean, I don't know. I wouldn't argue that sequence break. I mean, The thing that I think you like about Metroidvania is just basically the story elements to it. I think you like that it feels just more like a world you can explore rather than just a linear path from beginning to end to just like escape. Because the plot of every Metroid game is just escape the ship. Like you go through the ship, it explodes, you leave. That's it. But obviously, Hollow Knight had an actual story and actual characters, and Metroid doesn't really have characters outside of Samus and
Yeah.
maybe like a
Bird.
Metroid or a bird or a Chozo. Yeah, that's sort of
Yeah.
it. So that's probably the main reason you like it. But the original question that was meant to answer my opening statement on Metroid. Yeah, it was a great game. It's my favorite 2D Metroid game. I should say, I believe most other people it's the same as well, apart from Niall. I've played every other 2D Metroid as well. So I can definitively say that this is my favorite one and by far the one I enjoyed the most. I don't really have too many negatives to say about it. It definitely has some issues. Bringing it up real quick since we were speaking about it, I feel like they've removed pretty much all of the sequence breaking that you could do from the previous games, which I sort of enjoyed. Like, I didn't notice a single point in the game where I could have got somewhere I wasn't meant to. It always felt, like Niall said, to be fair, like if I went the wrong way, it was just the wrong way, and I couldn't do anything. Like, it very much needed you to have a specific power-up to reach like a certain elevator or to open a certain door to actually go where you need to go. So that's like one of the downsides of the game for me. But overall, just due to the aesthetic, the actual story of this game, because they added a lot more to it, and just the gameplay in general, it's the best it's ever felt. So yeah, that's sort of how I feel about Metroid Dread.
Alex.
Yeah, so it's a solid game. I gave it an 8 out of 10 on How Long to Beat. It was close to a 9, I'd say. But just like same with Lewis with the secrets breaking and stuff, like you had to follow like a specific way to go. So I think I remember when I was speaking to Lewis during, I think it was either Zero Mission or Super Metroid, he was like, "Oh yeah, I got the Varia suit like really early on, and I don't think I was meant to." But like, because I remember when we were playing it, because we were talking to each other about it, there was like different power-ups that we got like different times, but during this it was like, oh, we got this at this time, this at this time. And I think the thing that prevented that was probably the Emmys. Like they expected you to beat the Emmys in like the specific order, which opened up the next area. And I think that's what like ruined the slight like sequence progression for the game.
Yeah, I don't think they've got rid of all sequence breaking, but the sequence breaking is there. You need to be really skilled to do it.
Yeah, it's either you're going to be really skilled or it's just minor
But
like
that's the
sequence
thing, though,
breaking, just like missiles or something.
In the other Metro games, I always felt really skilled to get where I was going. It felt like in this game, I would legitimately have to glitch the game most of the time if it wanted me to get some. I'm not saying there wasn't maybe a certain way, like you brought up a certain way you could kill a boss if you like had a certain item or whatever. I'm not saying that can't be done, but it felt like getting to a new area that you're not meant like because there's a certain amount of power ups in each area, pretty much. And it didn't think like you could really get to a new area or a new place without very specific things. Whereas in the old games, it felt like you could do it, but it would be incredibly difficult to do. So it was possible, but you'd have to put in a shift to do it. I didn't really notice that in this one, but maybe I just didn't notice it. Maybe I was just wrong about it. I don't know.
I think they replaced. Oh,
go on now.
I think they replaced like the multiple paths with instead like just a bunch of like little power ups like missile tanks and health upgrades. Like they were just littered all over the map, and that was the only way you could deviate from the path they wanted you to be on. Is just which ways you pick them up or whether you pick them up or not.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'll also say real quick as well, without speaking about too long, I do like the linearity of Metroid game. My favorite Metroid game before this one was Fusions, which was probably the most linear of them all. So I'm not against the linearity of the game. I much prefer it to the earlier Metroids. It's just if people are looking for that, then it definitely has elements of Super Metroid, but I'd still say it follows more of the linear path of Zero Mission and Fusions instead of Super Metroid. Yeah. If we're talking how the game plays.
Yeah. So scores in the doors. I gave an 8 out of 10. Lewis gave it out 8 out of 10. Alex, you said 8 as well, didn't you?
8,
Niall,
yeah.
Niall, I know you haven't completed it, but if you had to score it now, what would you give it?
I'd say a 5 right now. 5. Bang average. If anything, I've enjoyed it slightly less than I enjoyed Dishonored, which I think I also gave a 5, but I don't think it's quite a 4.
Enjoyed it less than Dishonored.
We'll find a game that you like one day. No, don't worry.
I mean, I'm hyped for the next one. I don't know if we revealed the next one yet, but I'm hyped for that one.
You worry.
Okay.
Soon.
No, that'll be at the end.
Okay.
I do have a question though to do with like sequence breaking. Did anyone do any bomb jumps or anything during this game?
I did some bomb jumps. I did some bomb jumps to
'Cause I
get
feel like
missile
I
tanks and
didn't.
stuff like that.
I didn't feel like I needed to in this game. It wasn't like a necessity. Like with the other games, I was like, oh, I'm gonna bomb jump and try and like sequence break this and get this E tank early.
Yeah.
It just felt like everything was like
I don't think a bomb jump
out of the way.
A lot of the sequence breaking that does exist is based around the spine shark jump and like keeping it for like because you charge it up and then you only keep it for a certain amount of time, so it's getting to that place that you need to get to while you've got the spine shark to jump up.
Yeah.
That's how you did the crate exploit and things like that. Moving swiftly on, we're going to talk about the most important thing I think with Metroidvania, and that's the gameplay and like how it controls and things like that. So for me, some of the controls are a bit fiddly. As previously mentioned, the spine shark jump, which is basically what replaces the super jump, where you do a speed dash, and then you press down. You press down during the speed dash, and then you press B and up to jump up. And that for me felt really, really fiddly, especially if you're playing in handheld mode, which I did for like 50% of this. Playing in handheld mode, it's just almost impossible to do. Like it's just constant. You either miss the down or you don't get to where you need to get in time. Yeah, I wasn't a massive fan of it. I felt like charging it up is fine, and then just pressing B or something. It's the B and up that always got me because it's just more to remember kind of thing.
Yeah, it's completely unnecessary, and there's loads and loads of little things in the game like that. Like you said, you could just like sprint and jump, and it'll do the jump. I mean, if you jump where you're not supposed to, usually the ceiling's right above your head, so you're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
But like for example, with just off the top of my head, the one with the Emmys, where you obviously have to melt the face first, and then you have to charge up the shot. For me, it just makes sense for once you charge the shot for it to just fire straight away. But then they make you press another button as well to fire it. Like I just think like it should, yeah. But that's just an example.
It's supposed to act like a missile, I guess, isn't it? But I know what you mean. I understand what you mean. It's I don't know. I guess if you did that, then you're not able to aim because while you're holding that button down to charge it, the is still moving. So if it just released at the end of the charge, then you might not be aiming in the right place.
Yeah,
you might miss it.
I think it makes it more engaging, really, because it adds to the pressure of it slowly walking towards you as well. So you're freaking out as a player a bit as well, trying to like aim it in the right place.
I guess it's just what my like illogic was going into it. I had a lot of issues with that, actually, just with my preconceptions of how the game should play. The amount of times I died to an enemy because I charged it up, it made the sound that it was charged, and I just let go of it because I assumed that's what you had to do. You had to let go for it to fire. But yeah, there's other stuff like that as well. Like for example, I got really confused with the dash and the block a lot because dash in other games which I played, like Hollow Knight for example, but other games as well, has always been it was left trigger in Hollow Knight, and so I was constantly pressing left trigger and then just dying. And one thing which Hollow Knight did good, just talk about Hollow Knight again quickly, is that it mapped a lot of abilities to the same button, which I think really, really helped with streamlining gameplay. Like, depending on how you equipped yourself, you could like have like the healing button also do two other different things at the same time, and that really helped with because like I think you said, Ollie, you end up using like every single button on the controller, and you use every single button, and you can also hold it to do a different thing as well. It's just too much to remember.
That's weird. I was on the opposite end. I was more of a fan that they used every button because playing in the previous games, got so sick and tired of how much menu switching I had to do in all those games to get to certain weapons, or if I had to use a specific ability for one room and I had to switch switch to that ability just to use it, then switch back, and then like 2 rooms later I have to use it again, and I'd always find that really annoying. And I much preferred having everything pretty much just already set for you, because if I'm remembering correctly, I don't think I ever had to change anything in that game. It was always just ready to go with whatever I needed. Which is a lot less annoying for me and a lot less tedious.
Yeah, jumping on that, like, so it made me really happy that the super missiles didn't replace the missiles.
Yes,
they just became the missiles.
Became the missiles. That was great. Like, I love that. Because, like you say, switching in the old games was so annoying. You do still need to switch the bombs. I know that much.
Yes.
But that's the final power up anyway, so it's hardly a big issue. But it made me really happy that you didn't have to switch the missiles out. I really liked it. Well, one thing that I really liked about this one compared to the other Metroids was I think exploration was actually improved. I mean, I'm like you, Lewis. I'm quite a fan of linearity. Like Zero Mission's my favorite because the remake of Metroid is just it is linear because it tells you exactly where to go. It doesn't tell you how to get there, but it tells you where to go. And for this one, the old Metroid trick of shoot everything until you see an exit kind of thing, that only ever came up once. I remember speaking to you guys in the Discord at the time. I was like, where the fuck do I go?
Yes.
But that only ever happened once. I've used a guide for all the other Metroids, and for this one I did use one, fair play, but I used it a hell of a lot less. I used it for maybe of a third of the time. A lot of the rest of the times, as soon as I had a power up, I knew where to go. I just looked at the map and said, right, I can get up there now. That's my exit. Kind of thing.
I 100% agree. In Fusions, I think there was probably like 10, 15 times where I had to load up a YouTube walkthrough because I was just stuck and I had to shoot this one block in the corner of a room, and I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
I should have realized it, but
it wasn't very distinct either.
yeah, like I'm so happy they got rid of that, honestly. Like, I'm not all about the game holding my hand, and I don't think Metro games were ever like that, even Fusions and Zero Missions. I felt like they were always linear enough where it wasn't explicitly telling you where to go, but you could like somewhat find it yourself. And I felt like this did it a lot more. Well, it removed a lot of the annoyances about that. And yeah, I the exploration for this one, I do like. It does remind me of Zero Mission and Fusions, which I did prefer over Super Metroid, which a lot of people probably would disagree with.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much to ask for these blocks that you have to shoot or blow up or whatever. Just put a little crack in it or something.
Put a crack in them, yes.
Just like literally like every Zelda game ever. If you need if there's somewhere you need to bomb, then you can see that you need to bomb it.
You can see it.
Yeah, I was literally about to the other day when I was playing Skyward Sword. When I saw the crack, I was like, "Damn, I appreciate this in Zelda so much that it's never a massive crack, but it's enough where you're like, yeah, that's obvious that I've got to bomb that, and if I miss it, that's just my fault." And yeah, I can really appreciate that in games. But I don't know, I guess it's to sort of I guess it's to not change stuff too much for veterans and like fans of the series, and to like keep it the same. Because if you start adding all this new stuff, then people will probably get quite pissy about it and upset. So I think they did that well.
Speaking of veterans, like me, Lewis, Alex, we've all played in the run up to this. We played all the Metroid games, like the main 2D series. And I feel like that helps us get through the game a lot quicker and a lot easier than what would have been necessary. Because I think this one especially, is really not welcoming to new players at all. And Niall can probably attest to it.
Yeah. Go on, Niall. What do you think?
Yeah. Like I mean, I have no frame of reference. Like it was as complex as it was for me. Like,
we're not asking you to compare it to the other games. We're asking you to say how was it welcoming to you as a new Metroid player?
Well, like, I mean, yeah, it was actually like every tutorial explained the buttons. Like it was very quick to read. It was easy to do. It was the only sort of thing which was frustrating to me because it was never like what I liked about it was like none of the enemies, apart from like maybe a couple of small ones, and none of the bosses were ever frustrating because they were frustrating. It was always me getting angry at myself because there were too many buttons to remember and too many buttons. Like the amount of times I pressed the wrong button and I died because of it. One thing which I actually. Now, this is completely off topic, but just because we're talking about bosses, it feels like health upgrades are almost irrelevant because of how quickly the damage that enemies do scales. Did anybody else feel that?
I thought that. I agree with Niall because I always thought this in the old games as well. Like, it got to a point in the even in this one, where even if you had like 6 E-tanks, the bosses took, like, as the game progresses, they just start doing like 2 E-tanks worth of health, like on one hit. Yeah. So yeah, obviously it is more hits, but I feel like the system's just a bit I think it'd just be easier to make it like a couple hits and you're dead rather than having this health-based system because it's almost irrelevant in a way. Because it is just pretty much when it gets to a certain point, 3 hits, 2 hits, you're dead. Instead of like your health slowly going down, it's always like the same increment of damage. So I do feel like it is a bit irrelevant and they need to change that because it doesn't overly work, I don't think.
Yeah, it's more irrelevant now than it ever has been. Because in the old games, these E-tanks were the bosses were health checks. They were complete health checks. They were just making sure that you got enough E-tanks and enough missiles to continue. That's all it was. But like you say, everything just scales with you now. It just scares
And
with you, so-
especially in this game, there's the Emmys, which all instantly kill you anyway.
Yeah.
And that's like a lot of the game, the Emmys. So yeah, it's just they need to change that or think about changing it because it doesn't really make sense anymore. But yeah, going back, I think it's the hardest Metroid game. Honestly,
yeah.
I think it's by far the
Yeah.
hardest.
It's incredibly surprising to me that Nintendo are bringing out a first-party title on the Switch that is this hard.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I was expecting when I first saw it, I was expecting like because the Switch is so mainstream now, and a lot of people, not new players, were picking up Metroid for the first time, that they dumb it down a bit. I'm happy that they didn't, but it's just very surprising to me. It seems
Yeah.
like a very un-Nintendo thing to do.
But although they've made it hard, like Niall said, I was never angry at the bosses. I was always angry at myself for being shit and not understanding the patterns.
Yeah.
Once I got the patterns down, I was always fine. I was never angry at the boss like being cheesy or like doing an attack that wasn't fair. It was just me being trash at the game. So even though it is harder, they sort of like fix that by making it entirely just like you will get better if you keep playing the game. Unlike like I don't know, like the Mother Brain fight in Zero Mission,
That was
where it's
bullshit.
it's just impossible. It actually just is impossible. You can't do it.
I feel like the central unit fights in this were like a fun reference back to Mother Brain. Because it's pretty much the same fight, isn't it? Because it is a brain and a ball.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's just
Actually,
a constant barrage of things. It's a lot easier
Yeah.
to avoid now, but it's this constant barrage of missiles and those circles, which are directly from the Mother Brain fight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if there's anything in the lore that like kind of relates Mother Brain with these central unit brains, kind of thing, of the same species or whatever. But I do want to talk about bosses. So, like, from a boss point of view, like, in my opinion, this is by far the best Metroid. Like, just strictly on bosses, because you can actually defeat bosses without taking damage, rather than them just being health and ammo checks, like in previous games. Like, there's no way to avoid damage in the old Metroid games at all. I mean, it's just like the really, really good players might be able to, but for your average player, you are just getting constantly barraged with stuff, and it's just if the amount of health tanks you've picked up can sustain the damage before you kill it. One bit that did make me laugh was in one of the loading screens, like when you die in a boss fight, it said boss fights, no attack is unavoidable. It's like they're advertising the fact that they've fixed the boss fights, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's weird that they've only fixed it now, because even in Samus Returns, I still felt like it was an issue where I would just every boss fight to me was just spam missiles as fast as I could before I died, and then hope I can kill it. So it's a bit odd that they only just fixed that now. I don't know why it took them so long to realize.
I think Samus Returns is less of an issue than the other games because they had the counter to most
Less,
boss fights.
but still,
yeah.
I'd say
Still an issue.
I'd say other than the drill one, it was mainly the same thing. Still, just spam missiles and hope for the best.
So what was our favorite boss fight? I'll put a warning up here. We might go into some mild spoilers to some degree.
Let Alex go first.
I don't know actually.
On the spot now.
On the spot. I cannot remember I don't remember any of the
I've
names
got
of
the
it. But
list
there was
up,
one.
so if you describe it, I can probably.
There was like 3 different phases, and it did like a beam down, and then there was like one phase where it like shot like 5 different like beams coming from the right to the left, and then you had to like jump in between them.
Near the end, the
Yeah.
experiment
Big
number
dragon, isn't it?
Big dragon.
Z57, yeah, the big fire dragon in hell.
I died so many times to that, but every single time I thought this is my fault. Like I am dying because of my skill. It wasn't the game. It was just my skill.
You can sequence break that, Ross.
Can you?
Yeah.
What?
Well, I don't know if you described it as a sequence break, but if when the wind's blowing you left and you're running right,
Yeah.
if you manage to retain a spine shark jump for that entire thing, and then spine shark right into his head, you'll kill it instantly.
That is one cool thing about this game. You keep talking about all these different ways you can beat the bosses, and I didn't know about them when playing them.
I didn't know about.
I wonder how many there are. It's like the one for every single boss.
I don't know. I only know of 2. I know of that one and I know of Kraid, and I'll talk about Kraid now because Kraid is my favorite boss. I've liked Kraid in every single like Metroid game that he's appeared in. I think he's great.
Yeah.
But it was really good to see him in like, all 3D and like massive and I thought the fight was really satisfying. It didn't kill me loads of times or anything like that. I think it was one of the easy ones by a mile.
Oh, yeah.
I died a lot to him, but on my last attempt, I didn't get hit to him. Like I beat him without. It was like a flawless victory.
Which feels
Yeah.
great.
It was amazing.
Well, yeah, when I was talking to you guys, saying how you can do boss fights without being hit, that was the one that I didn't
Yeah,
get hit on. It
that was
just
the one I
great.
did.
Like, you just feel like you're amazing in the game when it does it, and I think that's what it does best with boss fights. But with Kraid, yeah,
I died so many times.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I died so many times to him that I learned all the patterns. So I was like, right, I know what to do now, and I didn't get hit when I beat him.
Yeah, and I truly think that's possible with every boss in the game. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the
Yeah,
sequence
definitely.
break on Kraid. I think I've told you guys already. So you can sequence break and go and pick up the power bombs and the grapple beam, I think it is, before fighting Kraid. And if you do that, then you can actually open up a panel on the left. This is the second phase of the fight where you're down near his belly. You can open up a panel on the left with a grapple beam, jump into it, and fire straight into his stomach, shoot off a lot of bombs, and again dies instantly. Which I think is really cool. And it just baffles me how people find this stuff. Now, what was your favourite boss of the ones you played?
Ooh, I don't know. Probably Kraid as well. I really liked that fight. It felt quite structured. I liked that he didn't move. It just was quite easy. That was my favorite part about it, really.
Because it was easy.
Yeah, it took me 2 attempts, and a second attempt I only just survived. But yeah, it was good. Good stuff.
Lewis?
Were you going to say something, Oliver?
I was going to say to now, like, Kraid is the only boss fight, the only boss in this game that has returned from previous games.
Yes.
Everything else is brand new.
Yeah, when I saw Kraid, even though I've only played the games recently, it was exciting. I was quite giddy about it. My favorite boss, big spoilers, well, kind of. It's kind of obvious from like the first 10 minutes, but Ravenbeak was by far my favorite boss. And like, honestly, it's one of my favorite bosses I've fought in a video game in quite a while. He took like an hour and a half to beat for me. Like, I died so many goddamn times, but each phase of that is so unique. And every phase is like so enjoyable and so fun to do. Like, I honestly wouldn't mind just replaying that boss even after beating it now, and just playing through it again, because I feel like I've memorized each sequence at this point where I probably could do it damageless. But yeah, it's definitely the hardest boss in the game, I feel. And because of that, it's also just the most fun, because learning that, and not only learning it felt good, but like he deserved to be the hardest. He was like built up from the start of this game to be this like killing machine. So the fact they made him so hard was definitely warranted. But going back to what we said before, I'm surprised Nintendo made anything this difficult in the first place. It seems really odd on their end. It's nice that they're branching out and they're willing to do stuff like this, and it's not just super easy games. But yeah, I was definitely taken back by how hard he actually was, but it definitely caused it to be my favorite of the entire series. Honestly, I really love Ravenbeak. Not only was his character cool, but his boss was cool, and beating him felt incredible. And obviously, what happens after you beat him as well was also insanely cool.
Oh, mate, I want to talk about that so much. I will just say, it makes me sad that they've stopped adding things to Smash.
Yes,
because
that
would have been dope.
It would have been incredible. It would have been incredible.
Yeah. Niall, are you gonna complete this game?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll complete it, and then we'll talk about it. We'll talk about
really
it.
good, really excited.
I don't know if it will mean as much to you because you haven't played the others, but it does. Seeing it is amazing. It's one of the best endings in a game that I've played in a long while. Yeah. So speaking about the final boss, did anyone use a guide for that? No. So
well, no, you didn't.
So did you know the super bomb trick?
That took me. That was a lot. So do you know for the second phase where he makes that giant light ball?
The sun.
Third phase. Yeah.
I used super bombs on it.
Yeah.
I just did it.
It took me so long to realize though. Like every time that came, I was like, "Is this just like this? Is just I can't do anything about it." It wasn't until it's because you get the super bombs so late in that game that I forgot I had them. So I never tried it anytime it came out, and it wasn't until it clicked, and I was like, "Wait a second, is this what it wants me to use it for?" And obviously it worked. That I was like, "Okay, it makes sense." It kind of my fault, kind of not. I don't know. But I can completely understand if you use a guide for that because it was just trial and error over and over again for me for that.
The reason I started using a guide was because you know the black balls that he throws out, like the black hole type things. I didn't clock on to shoot them, like not once, and I just kept dying to them. So it's like, what the fuck's going on? And
okay.
it tells you to shoot. I was like, oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
And I just carried on reading after that. But yeah,
Right,
it was a really good boss fight. One problem that I had with the boss fight, this is why it's starting to get into an 8 out of 10 category rather than a 9 out of 10, is that some of the blink and you'll miss it counters really didn't sit well with me. And I'm talking
They're
specifically about the armored chozos mainly. Do you know the ones with the spear?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
fuck me. Because if you miss the counter, then you have to basically do the entire phase again, and it's just really annoying because you quite easily miss it. Like with the final boss, if you need to do the counters, he literally beckons you over so you can do it. But with the Chozo, it's just I feel like I missed it a lot more than I actually hit it, and I think that made it feel a little bit cheap. You know what I mean? Just a touch. Not too
I
much.
will admit, the armored Chozo, I don't think it's fair when your brain physically can't react to the light flashing. Like, I had to time it with everything, with the Emmys, with the Chozos. I basically put myself on a timer, so the moment this specific animation happens, countdown in my head and like, it was basically preemptively pressing the button in order to counter, because it's impossible to react as quickly as it wants you to, which I feel like is a bit stupid. I feel like if they were going to go that route, they needed to give you more of a tell. But the tell was usually the flash, which shouldn't be the case. They should do something with their animation, whether it's like you see them like slowly jolting forward before the attackers come in, and then it gives you a sign that it's going to happen. But they just wanted you to have these unreal speeds that aren't possible by man. And I don't really get that. Having to do it preemptively sort of ruins the effect, I feel, of getting a counter off.
Yeah, it just feels like it almost feels like a quick time event. I don't know. Metroid games never been like that, has it? Where it requires you to do basically a quick time event at the end, rather than just kill it with your own thing.
They only had the counter in Samus Returns, didn't they? But I always felt like they didn't really use them that much. I felt like they were a lot more involved in this one. But even then, in Samus Returns, I felt like there was a lot more of a tell, because the character in Samus Returns would do a sign that it's going to attack, and then it would do the flash. Whereas in this, it would just do the flash, which doesn't help. So yeah, that was a bit odd. Again, it feels like they're going sort of backwards, but I guess they must have had a reason for it. I guess just to make it feel more threatening and die more. Because I will admit, in other Metroid games as well, I didn't die that much. It wasn't that often that I die. But in this one, I died a shit ton. I died a monumentous amount of times, so...
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe they just wanted it to be harder, I guess.
So staying on boss fights for one more minute. Did anyone have any like worse boss fights, ones that I just really didn't like at all? For me, it was the Red Chozo Soldier. I didn't like it at all.
That's what I was gonna say. I didn't hate anything, but I disliked the twin Chozo soldiers when there was two of them.
They were
That's
annoying.
when I screamed and was like, "Please!" Like, I didn't like fighting one of them. Never mind two. But I didn't hate them. I'd just say it was my least favorite for sure.
Yeah,
I didn't think they were that bad. I'm just trying to think of something that might have been worse. Are they similar to the black ones? The black, like, sludgy ones?
They're the ones. So they were the one that I was talking about. They're
okay.
They're the ones that I was talking about. Lewis was talking about the littler ones. The sometimes.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the
Okay.
ones I was talking about
the black sludge ones
was when
were my worst ones.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'd always get hit by they always did like a little like beam thing, the sludge, and that would always kill me.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, it's all about baiting it, that attacking it. You gotta bait it and then run, and then bait it and then
Yeah.
run. But sometimes they do it for it. Well, one time they did it 4 times on me, and I thought the limit was 3, and I felt really pissed off.
That's what I mean. You never know.
I think it can keep going if you bait it enough. Like if you go back and forward. How about you, Niall, with the small bosses that you fought?
Well, I did because it's like there's 2 types of Chozos, right?
Well, there's the black armored Chozo.
Jozos.
Jozo. And there's basically like smaller soldier versions that are like they're basically just smaller versions. They're not black, they're like small gold kind of.
You can tell which is which because one of them like transforms halfway through the fight and it's like an X version of it.
Yeah, into an alien version.
Yeah, the black ones I found like really a bit too easy, honestly. Like I didn't get hit, and also I didn't find the quick time events that challenging either. Compared to the Emmys anyway, you had like a bigger gap, like a big leeway, I thought. But the smaller ones, those are the ones where I had issues, just because you have to like it just comes down again to me struggling to remember all the buttons. Like I think I spent an hour on one of them just because I kept pressing the wrong buttons, and there's like you're constantly having to run away. You don't have much time to think, and also I had a really low missile capacity as well, and I ran through those like before even down to half health. And then you are literally just relying on being able to counter them so you can get some ammo back. And a lot of times they won't counter, and yeah. So those are probably my worst bosses.
Yeah, so staying on the subject of combat and stuff, we're gonna have to talk about it. The big gimmick that was brought into Metroid Dread, and that is the Emmys that decided to create some forced stealth sections. So the Emmys are the robots that are guarding this planet, right? Basically, they've been sent there to eradicate the X parasite, and they're guarding this planet. And so they patrol certain areas, like certain rooms in the game. And if they hear you, there's like you got a certain radius, then they'll start looking for you. If they see you, then they'll chase you down. And if they get you, then you're basically dead. There's a small, very, very, very minute window in which you can counter. I only ever managed it once. I know you guys managed it more times, but I only ever actually managed to do that counter once. And if not, then you're dead straight away. What do we think of these sections?
I'm just gonna say it really quick. I won't speak on it too long. I'll give other people a chance to speak. But I thought this was stealth done right in Metroid, and I'm gonna compare it to an older game. I think it was Zero Mission. There's at the end of the game, you go into Zero Suit, and you have to make your way through this Chozo base or something. And the stealth that it made you doing that was horrendous because stuff would chase you, but there'd be no actual way to hide from it.
Yeah.
And it didn't control particularly well. So I hated that part of the game so much. I feel like this game did it much better because it was very contained rooms, and I knew once I was in that room, I either had to like book it and get in there quick and get out quick, or just basically counter the Emmy and give myself a chance to actually get through it. I didn't think the stealth was unnecessary in any way. I didn't think it was bad in any way. And I really just like the Emmys in general because it added a sense of fear that I haven't had in any of the other Metroid games. Like those things legitimately scared me at the beginning all the way to the end. I will admit there was some points as the game progressed, and it's probably just because I was wanting to get to the end. When the Emmy stuff happened, I got a bit like annoyed, and I'd try and rush it more than I should have, which caused me to die a lot more or get caught by the Emmys a lot more. But I feel like if they have to take a stealth direction for Metroid, this was the way to do it, and I feel like it was done very well, personally.
Yeah. Niall?
I initially hated the areas because I hated the principle of instantly being chased through an area which you're not familiar with. Because that was a moment, that probably the only moments in the game where if I got like cornered or whatever and I died to an Emmy in a new Emmy zone, then I would feel like it was less my fault because I didn't have any information. Another way they could have done it is to like make an Emmy zone, like put an Emmy zone into the level after you've already been through it, like I don't know, after a boss or after you after you go like what they call the units, the central units. Like after you kill them, then you go back out of there, and then it's the world which you've been in, but it's now an Emmy zone, and there's an Emmy there. That could have been a different way to do it. But throughout the game, like as I got more familiar with how they work, it was just a case of going in there, looking at the map straight away, seeing where the exits are, and then just going there. But I mean that's fine, but it just felt at that point. That's when I lost the fear because I could just go to the exit, and if I got chased, then I knew I could outrun them pretty much.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Alex?
I'm gonna agree with Lewis that I thought it was actually like quite scary at the start with the Emmys, like because they can insta kill you. You don't know the patterns, like especially if you're like not good with the counter and stuff. I always thought that was like scary when I was first playing it, and especially with the yellow Emmy, which was really fast and it was chasing you for ages. That like terrified me at first. I was like, "Oh shit, it's fast! I'm gonna have to like run away from it." And and I'm pretty sure you come back to that one after you beat a different one. So it introduces you to like all like these different colored Emmys,
Yeah.
and you're just trying to like figure out like, oh, what power up is it gonna give me? because I'm pretty sure the second one gives you the morph ball, which I thought was interesting because like Samus's moveset from the start as well, and you're like, why don't I have the morph ball? It's like the first item that you should get. But I thought it was interesting that they gave it you through an Emmy. Like it was quite a bit into the game. When it's like an hour and a half into the game, you get the morph ball.
It was quite jarring not getting it straight away.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they wanted to teach you the slide technique.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the Emmys. I thought they were really good. I liked the areas, and I thought they worked well in the game.
Yeah, I liked them. Like you say, it is quite scary, especially when Niall said you go into the room for the first time. And I do agree with Niall. It feels a little bit cheap when you first go in because you've got nowhere. You don't know where the exits are because you haven't filled out the map yet. But I guess if you start thinking of it as if you're supposed to die in that area, you know what I mean? Like you're supposed to. It's supposed to be like trial and error kind of thing. If you think of it like that, it seems less annoying. But what I did like was after obviously you defeat the central unit and you get the beam. I liked figuring out how best to kill the enemy, like finding the part of the room in which you're most likely to get it. It just felt really satisfying to kill them, and the fact that you get rewarded for it with a power up rather than just being nothing. The fact that you get rewarded with a power up, I think they are a worthy addition. I wouldn't like to see them in another game.
No, it's done. It's
done.
Yeah, I'm completely happy with my Metroidvanias not having stealth aspects. But I agree with Lewis. If they were going to do it, this was the best way to do it. This was the best way to do it.
I will bring up real quick though, just because you mentioned there was one Emmy towards the end, which I thought was just unfair when you had to kill it because how tight it was, like the time you had to actually shoot its plate off and then shoot with the missile, it was so small and you had to stand in such a specific area, and I hated it because I had to redo it so many times to find the exact spot. And
Which one was it? The dark blue one?
It was the blue one, I think. Yeah, it was like towards the end of the game.
It was like the second to last Emmy that you.
But like
kill.
the entire bottom floor had too many like bumps in it, so it kept like crawling downwards and then upwards. And when it's doing that, you can't get an angle on it, so you had to get a straight path. But the only straight path was like at the top, and it was so tight for the time, and you had to kill it. And I didn't really like it. I thought that one wasn't done very well. The rest of them were good. I just had like a major annoyance with that one Emmy because I just don't think they tested it very well because it was too specific. I feel like if they're gonna do that, you need multiple ways to kill it or kill it from multiple angles. You shouldn't have to stand in one specific spot to get it done. But outside of that, yeah, it was done very well.
Especially when you shot its face off as well because it got faster. So it was just like, oh shit, it's even worse now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on, we're going to talk about the graphics. I'll go first. I feel like the graphics could have been better. I think there's definitely more power to be drawn out of the Switch. Like I know this is like a third-party studio and stuff, but the thing is, it's still a first-party game. It's published by Nintendo, and I don't believe for a fact that Mercury Steam didn't have access to whatever tools are needed to take full advantage of the the graphic capabilities of the Switch. I'll compare it. I'll make the comparison. Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, they look amazing. You know what I mean? Like they're obviously not up to par with like PS5, Xbox Series X, but I think I think they look great, and I think they look a lot better than Metroid does. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a fine looking game. I just think it could look better. And also, like speaking about like the visuals and stuff, I think the atmosphere in this game was it didn't kind of grab me as much as the previous games at all. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like like with Metroid Fusion and stuff, it just felt a bit spookier, and the music was better in every other Metroid game.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought the music was worse.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but so staying on graphics, we'll go about graphics and music together. Niall.
To throw another one in there, Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, and Mario and Rabbids. I thought that was a very beautiful game as well.
That game is crispy.
Yeah,
and that was a third-party studio.
It was.
I'd also argue that Nintendo don't overly care about Pokemon, literally one of the biggest franchises in the world. Their games always look like ass. Well, at least on the Switch, anyway. They look horrible.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily just because it's a first-party title. I admit that they should be better. Like Pokemon games, they should be better. They should be. They 100% have access to a bunch of stuff, and it should be better. But there's clearly stuff going on behind the scenes that stops that from happening. I'm sure like Game Freak want Pokemon to look incredible, but there's clearly a reason they don't look very good,
Yeah.
even though they have all this money and are pretty much like Nintendo's baby. So that's why I give Metroid some credit, because like again, with it being a small studio, I honestly think they probably just did the best they could do with what they had. And I'm sure if they wanted it to look better, they would have made it look better. But I feel like there's probably a reason why it doesn't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just wanted to cut some corners. But I don't know. Considering like that they have that series now, and it was such like a big deal for them to make this game. Like I'm sure they did as much as they possibly could have to make it the best they could have. But maybe I'm wrong. Who knows?
Now, what did you think?
I don't dislike the way it looks. I dislike some of the choices they made, specifically with the colors. For example, with the doors, there's two different types of yellow doors. If you're yellow deficient, when it comes to color blindness, then you're not gonna be able to tell the difference between those two doors. And it's the same with, like, I think there's like two green doors as well with like very slightly different patterns as well. I think like they made one of the doors the translucent in terms of the hexes on there, and one of them opaque.
Yeah, I know which doors you mean.
Yeah,
It's
like
the plasma beam doors and the super missile doors.
That confused me as well, and I'm not even blind. So.
Yeah, so there's that as well. Like, I mean, like they used patterns for some doors, but not other doors. But like they didn't use them. Like, for example, with the two yellow doors, they could have easily just put like little X's on there or something like that, just to differentiate it from something other than color. In terms of, I mean, they do color right in some ways. Like they made the levels quite like dark and grey, while Samus was quite colourful, which was good. They could have easily made it even in environments like I forgot what planet it is, but then like the nature planet where it's like underneath a forest.
Yeah,
Not planet, area, sorry.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, even with that one, there's a lot of potential to have quite vibrant colours. They kept it quite mute, which was good, because otherwise you'd lose track of where Samus was. However, some of the enemies were like a bit too close in terms of like color palette wise. Like there were some enemies which are like the same color as Samus, which doesn't really make sense. And yeah, that's pretty much it really. I just wish that they paid a bit more attention to the color in the game, because it does seem a bit arbitrary sometimes when they chose certain things. But yeah, that's me.
Alex?
I thought the graphics were like fine for third party studio and stuff. It could be better. Like you could say, with anything can be better. I feel like with this game that because of Metroid Prime 4 being delayed and stuff, there was like, right, we need something to satisfy Metroid fans. So there was like, right, let's get a 2D Metroid out. So I feel like the time window, like making the game, wasn't as big.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was just sort of like, right, let's get a Metroid game out. Let's get it out for before Halloween, satisfy Metroid fans. But yeah, I thought the game looked fine. I don't understand when people were saying it looked like a mobile game. I don't think it looks that like bad and stuff. It looks good, but not on the levels of like Odyssey and Breath of the Wild and stuff. None of the music tracks stuck out to me either. With like the beginning, like when you first boot up the game and it's showing like the history of Metroid, I thought that like soundtrack was really good.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's the only soundtrack I can think of that stuck out to me.
Yeah, I can't remember any individual areas like music at all.
No.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, Alex probably makes brought up a good point. They probably did only get this game out because of Prime 4 not being a thing, I imagine.
Yeah,
I honestly feel like they weren't working on this game.
Yeah, let us not forget that the word dread has been around since it's over a decade.
Oh yeah,
it was a hit.
But it was
16 years.
No, but I feel like that also was like a thing of like Alex said. I think they were like, right, we need to get people hyped. Let's just make Dread. Let's just get Dread out of the way.
I think I have read somewhere that the creator of the creator of Metroid, I think there's one guy who's like the guy. They were working on Dread, but then I think he pulled it or something like that. I could be talking out my arse there. Yeah, he pulled it, and then obviously recently it's come up again. But it did its job. It created hype.
Yeah, exactly.
My God, when I saw the words Metroid Dread, I was like, oh my God, it's Metroid.
Blew my mind.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think that's why they used the name Dread as well, to get fans hyped, because they could have easily called it something else.
Yeah.
One thing I
Any-
want to bring up as well, I won't talk about the graphics much because everyone else has already said the piece and whatever. But I'd say the thing they did well, and you could probably comment on this, Oliver, because you play it in handheld. I thought the performance was incredible.
Oh,
It
yeah.
ran 60 FPS, no drops ever.
Yeah.
It ran flawlessly. Was it good in handheld as well?
Run great in handheld as well. And the thing is, when you play on handheld, it makes it look a lot better.
Well, yeah,
Like,
'cause,
the people who are playing
Yeah.
on, like, who are saying it's a mobile looking game, I guarantee they're playing it docked.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it looks like
60
it
inch
belongs.
4K TV.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like it belongs in handheld mode. I'm playing a lot of
Yeah,
games in handheld mode these days. I never used to, but I'm doing it a lot more now. Like, I really like it.
Are you gonna
it's
pick
like,
up the OLED?
No, I'm not gonna pick up the OLED. No, I don't need to. I don't think anyone needs to who already owns a Switch personally. But yeah, I'm definitely not going to spend 350 quid unless the missus suddenly wants my Switch or something. And I've got an excuse to, or it breaks. If it breaks, I'll buy one. But otherwise, no, I'm not really bothered.
Yeah.
Do you reckon Nintendo has ever listened or asked for any fans' opinion on anything?
They did for the Smash Fighter.
Oh yeah, for
Fighter.
Sora,
that's
I guess.
true,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Well,
other
that's
than that,
Sakurai. He's his own different breed. He's not Nintendo. Nintendo couldn't give a shit about anything that consumers have to say about what they do. They do not
because
care.
if they ask anybody, do you want brand new Switch where the difference is that there's a new screen? Will you buy that? No, no one would say yes.
No, they wouldn't.
To me, that was pressure for a Switch Pro. That's the only thing I can think of. That the pressure from day one for a Switch Pro that they brought something like that, because they're not going to redo it. They're not going to bring out a new console because they don't need to. They don't. We're still we're getting towards the end of it, but they're halfway through Switch's life.
Yeah, making a new console would cause way too many issues for them.
Yeah.
Because if they made it too powerful, they'd have to start making games. Well, they'd run into the PS5, PS4 issue where they've got to start making games for two separate consoles. I don't think they want to do that. Like Nintendo is just like, let's just make a game and they'll people will like the game. They've never really been about hardware or anything like that. But I do also like agree that the Switch does need a new model, kind of, because games aren't looking so good on the Switch recently.
Especially when you compare it to like the next generation.
Even just anything, just like even like Mario Golf. Look at any of the textures on that game. It looks.
They just need to fix internet servers and then
it looks horrible.
It'll be worth it.
I mean, yeah, but they're charging us like what, $60 now for the internet, and they haven't changed the internet.
The servers better be worth it.
Like again, that just
for this price increase.
That just goes back to Nintendo. Like, yeah, they just don't care. Like, if they cared, they would have said, "Yo, do you want a new do you want a new paid service that costs $60, and we'll give you nothing? Well, we'll give you Animal Crossing, I guess, and 64 games." But yeah, it's just they're stupid. They're stuck in the past.
Yeah,
that's the issue with Nintendo. They're stuck in like the 70s, where it's just a bunch of businessmen that don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, they've kind of painted themselves into a corner as well, because I mean they're using the cartridges for the Switch, right? So
yeah,
if they upgrade, then especially if they upgrade now, they'd have to make it backwards compatible. They have to.
Yeah, they will.
Like no, or else there'll be public outcry, and now that they are constrained by the media that they've used. I mean, I don't know how much these cartridges can hold, but
not a lot.
I mean? No,
it was already bad for when like the year it came out. Like the cartridge size and stuff is awful for 2017.
And if you stay with the handheld model, then you've got to put a fuck ton of flash storage on it as well.
Yeah.
If games are getting bigger, because if obviously cartridges will hold so much, but you need to download something anyway. So if they have bigger, more graphically intensive games, then the Switch won't be able to hold them.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do.
That's literally why those download only games exist, because the Switch cartridge can only hold a couple of gigabytes.
Yeah.
So they have to put a couple of gigs on there and then just make you download the rest, which is a horrible way to solve the issue, but they don't have a choice. That's literally all they can do. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. They need to I think if Nintendo do another console, like a home console, it has to be something new, like just a new console, because like you said, they're restrained too much by what they've built. But also at the same time, though, they don't care. I'm sure they'll go into 2030 with games that are still looking the way they are. Like, they're still fun at the end of the day, which is the issue.
Yeah, we're still buying them. Everyone's still buying them.
Can't really argue. You can complain, but if you keep buying it, then
we're part of the problem, and we always
will exactly.
We are.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so obviously this Metroid has been a success. It's the best-selling game in the series so far. So, do we think we're going to see more Metroid anytime soon? Obviously, we got Metroid Prime 4 on the horizon, but what else are they going to do?
I hope so.
Metroid Tennis?
Essentially. To be fair, they made Metroid Pinball,
They
so
didn't make Metroid Pinball.
At least that one makes sense.
possibility.
I think because they're saying like the original 2D series is now over. It's the end of the saga kind of thing. So I'm just curious as to what they
Could make a new saga.
Yeah, honestly,
Or they could do something like a Super Metroid remake or something,
It
like
could
they
be
did with
brave of
Metroid
them.
2.
It could be brave of them to make a new Metroid just without Samus and get someone else, but I don't know if people would want that.
Yeah, like one of the bounty hunters from Metroid Prime Hunters. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
It just depends how much how important Samus is to the branding of Metroid.
I honestly
about
don't.
to say to the story then.
I don't think she's that important at all. I really don't, because she doesn't say much, does she? Well, she's
a
great.
blank slate.
You want your strong silent protagonist type thing in like games like this. But I've got no issue with Samus at all. I just think that she's not necessary to make a Metroid.
Yeah.
As long as it's a Metroidvania type style, then it's a fucking Metroid game, isn't it? At the end of the day, as long as it's set in the same universe.
I'd take more. I'm not fiending for it or anything. I feel like Dread honestly gave me exactly what I wanted from the Metroid series. If they want to do more and they have new ideas for it, go ahead. But I'd honestly be happy if that was the last one, like 2D one anyway, because I felt like it gave me everything I wanted from it. It gave me a conclusion as well to her character arc and whatever. So
God,
I don't know.
It was so good. It was so
It
good.
was.
Like
It was
anyone who's
really
listening who hasn't played it, you need to play it just for the ending.
Like I don't know if it's just better because I don't know if it's just amazing because all the other ones literally had no story whatsoever, but it was real good. Like I was freaking out to Alex when I got to the end boss. Like I was honestly super hyped. But yeah, I don't know if they want to make. I honestly just focus on 3D Metroids. I think that's what they need to do.
They just need to bring out Prime 4.
Prime 4. Yeah, I'm gonna go back. Like I said, I don't know. I might try and emulate them. See if they run.
Would you emulate? Would you emulate the GameCube one or the Wii one?
The GameCube one. The GameCube.
I played the GameCube one for 1 and 2, and I thought they were fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't emulate the Wii one. I don't think. I think it was the motion control that will make me feel motion sick.
Right.
So, yeah. I just need something that doesn't control like ass. I guess I don't know if there's any mods out there that do have twin stick controls, but we'll see. So yeah, I'm looking at my notes. I can't think of anything else to talk about. Anyone got anything to say? Niall, give me some.
About Metroid or just anything?
Metroid. Well, you can talk about your nan if you want, Lewis.
No. I don't know.
There's this thing called flow theory. Should I risk turning off my webcam and turning on my screen?
Why are we talking about flow theory?
Because Metroid.
I don't want to fuck the podcast up, but
Shall we see? Shall we try it? Shall we go for it?
He's gonna ruin it. Isn't
He's
he?
ruined it. It's gone. I've switched places.
Oh yeah, shit.
Lewis is now in my place.
It should switch back.
Niall, come back. Niall, come back.
Oh god,
my
no, he's
God.
Oh god, Niall.
Is that
come
fine?
back. No, come back, please.
Oh, is it ruined?
Turn the stream off,
I'm
Niall.
back.
Turn it off. Turn the stream off.
I can't.
I'm so sorry.
I don't know how
This
to
is
stop
so
it. There we go.
unprofessional. Right.
There
okay,
we
we're
go.
back.
Are we all back in the right places?
We're all back in the right places, but we were
Right,
all
okay,
in
cool.
completely wrong places. You can talk about flow theory if you want.
Describe it.
Right. So there's two axes. There's a challenge axis and there's the skill axis. And what you gotta do is you can imagine these two axes like this. You gotta try and keep the player experience in the middle. Otherwise, if it goes too high, then the players will get too anxious. If it goes too low, then players will get too bored because that means the skill is progressing to high because the skill goes from low to high on this axis. But the challenge isn't going up. So they're getting better and better, but there's no increased challenge. Same with the challenge. If the challenge goes up, but you haven't given enough time for the player to get more skilled, then they're just going to be really anxious and not going to want to play your game. I think Metroid does a good job at keeping it in the middle. Yes.
That does actually lead into one of my notes because I wanted to talk about how the increase of power really shows itself. Like every Metroidvania, you pick up power ups, you get more powerful. But I think it does it really well in this one. Like you obviously not with like the the bosses to a degree because your health obviously scales up with how much damage they're doing, but I feel like the exploration, especially, is like I showed you a tweet earlier where someone said the best part of any Metroid game is when you get a screw attack, and it's just the how fast you can like go through all the levels when you got a screw attack, and once you got the dash and all that stuff is great. But I think it culminated in a point for me. This wasn't even a part of gameplay or anything, but it was the cutscene where Samus grabbed the Emmy by the nose. If you remember it. I thought that was like, fucking hell. She's a god now. She's actually a god after you've been hunted by these things for the entire game, and then she just puts it out straight away. It's great. One thing I do want to talk about. Niall won't be able to participate in this much, unfortunately. But since we played all 5 Metroid games, how do you rank them? Obviously, we all said Metroid Dread's the best one.
I can do this right now.
Yeah, with it.
So, wait, can I have how long to beat up real quick?
Go for it.
Just to make sure I've not got this wrong.
I'll put Dread at the bottom.
Bottom of you one list.
The bottom of one.
Also at the top.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. So, Metroid Dread, the top. Metroid Fusion's my previous favorite game, second. Metroid. Honestly, this might just be an order of release. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Metroid Zero Mission, third. Samus Returns, fourth, and Super Metroid last. I liked Super Metroid the least out of all of them. I hated the controls in that game. It angered me. It was too floaty. I'd gotten used to all the other controls, the Game Boy controls specifically, and it would just frustrate me. And I also beat that game really quickly, and I don't know, I didn't really find it very challenging. It's mainly release order, apart from the Super Metroid Switch, which people will probably be pissed off about. But yeah. That one's definitely last place in the 5 for me, with Dread being the best.
I think I'm going to be the outlier here because I feel it's just going to be the same thing. Apart from Dread, is whichever one you played first, and the one I played first was Super Metroid. So my order is going to be Dread, then probably Super Metroid, then Fusion's Zero Mission, and then Samus Returns.
Yeah. Fair play. Super Metroid definitely isn't second for me, definitely.
Yeah.
I got Dread at top, but it's right. I think you're right. The second one tends to be the first one they play because the second one for me is Zero Mission, and then it'd go Fusion, then Super Metroid, then Samus Returns. I didn't like Samus Returns. Like, the more I look back on it, the more I dislike it. I hate the whole hunting down all the Metroids thing. It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't.
I hated how much my hand cramped when I was playing it.
It sucks as well. It doesn't play well on the 3DS.
It cramped so hard I had to play it on an emulator. Sorry for being illegal, but I had to. I couldn't do it.
The thing with emulation, I feel if you own the game, it's legal. I think. If
you own the game, there's no real.
Yeah, it's
I mean, the whole thing of emulation again, it's not. It's like, is it legal? Is it not? I don't want to get into it, but it's like. These games aren't being made. Like, Samus Returns for DS isn't being made anymore. And if you buy that game, it isn't going to Nintendo or Mercury Steam. How do I keep forgetting? Mercury Steam. It's not going to them. So, pirating the game realistically doesn't affect anyone. And are you doing anything illegal? Because you're not affecting any costs or anything or any revenue. So, it's a thing of like, when does it become illegal or an issue? Like, yes, new games, I get it. New games that like are still being pumped out, still being made, still being produced. You downloading that is directly affecting the companies that are producing it. But these games that don't exist anymore or aren't being made.
The only issue with what you've said there is only specifically for this game is that the 3DS eShop is still open. You can buy Samus Returns, but like I was saying, I feel if you own the game physically or digitally or whatever, I don't think emulation should be an issue. We're not going to get into a whole debate about it.
No, we won't.
But I just don't feel it should be an issue. And it's, like you say, with older games that aren't being made anymore, so even if you did buy them, it will be going to a reseller. It's not. Yeah. It's a non-issue kind of thing. If you don't want us to emulate games, bring them out.
Put it on your system. Yes.
Put it on your system.
Yeah.
That's legit.
I do want to say something relating to Dread though. There was a lot of people on like the first 2 days and stuff that was saying that you should emulate the game, even though it's only just come out. It's like, well, I'm not paying this much money for a 5 to 10 hour game when I could just emulate for free. It's just you're not providing support to the company
Yeah.
when you're not paying for the game, which means that they won't get the funds, and they don't know how many copies are being sold to be like, right, let's make another one. Because if people are just emulating it, then they'll just be like, well, people aren't buying the game, so we just won't make another one.
Yeah, it's just business people in business rooms. They'll look how many are sold, and they'll make decisions based on that. That's all. It's all about numbers, really.
What really pissed me off about that though was sorry about swearing so much. It was Kotaku who did that.
It was like, you should
I hate
emulate
Kotaku anyway,
Yeah.
but they're a massive news outlet, and they literally were like, yeah, it looks better on emulator, just go play it on emulator. And I was like, what are you doing? It was like 2 days after the game came out. And that could be like the entire reason, let's say, why we don't get another 2D one, because
so many people saw that article and was like, well, Kotaku said I should emulate it, so I'm just going to emulate it.
It deserves the money.
I'm quite happy to sit and shit on Kotaku for an entire episode. They're getting worse. They're getting worse. They put out an article the other day that not in as many words, but basically said that Samus should smile more. Like it's so backwards. It's so backwards.
Yeah.
Like, how can the editor look at that and put it out? Especially the fact that it's a woman in charge of Kotaku now. So how the fuck did that get out? How was that made available for readers? It's fucking ridiculous. Like I genuinely would like Kotaku to just stop.
They cause so many issues.
Yeah,
they just stir shit.
I thought with this new person taking over, it'd get better, but it's just getting worse and worse. And I can only think that they're surviving on the fact that people are doing angry clicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're reading these articles to read. Oh my god, I can't believe they said this, and it's just that's the worst kind of journalism in my eyes. Absolute worst. It's immoral, is what it is basically.
It is.
Because at the end of the day, it's not journalism then at all.
We'll save the Kotaku podcast for another time. We'll do the podcast then.
Yeah, well, I think we're done. I think unless anyone else has got anything else to say. Big Noz, anything over there?
No, I nearly got scammed just then from a text message. I'll tell you a story about law and why it's weird. In France, there's a law where you can start paying someone else's mortgage and like say someone's like old and gonna die, right? They're like 90, and like you can start paying someone else's mortgage, and then when they die, you get their house. You don't have to buy it off them. You just continue obviously paying the mortgage. There was this story one time where this guy who was about 60 did this with like a 90-year-old woman, and she ended up outliving him. She ended up being the oldest woman ever, I think 122 years old, and he died. And then, because of the law, despite his children having absolutely nothing to do with it, it was then their responsibility to continue paying this woman her mortgage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Can we link it to Metroid somehow? Is there a way to do that?
That kid grew up to be Samus.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was the main motivator. No, we talked about laws before and why they don't make sense, didn't we?
They don't.
Yeah.
Laws are stupid, I agree.
Laws are stupid. No, that was it. It was the thingy. Emulate him. It's not in print anymore. Yeah. It's the French.
Welcome to 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to bring it up then, but you kept talking, so I had to wait.
Talking on a podcast? Bastards.
I know.
We started hating Kotaku.
Terrible.
Right, so I think that we've reached the end. I think we've got a nice length here, so we don't need to go into anything else. Next episode will be news and discussion. I'm sure we'll be talking about the state of play and stuff like that in a little bit. But we are also it'll go up before this goes up, so I can't really say tune in. But we'll have a replay of our live stream of the state of play, and then we'll talk about other stuff, news, discussion, all that stuff, and then on the 15th of November, and then our video game book club game next month will be drum roll.
Oh yeah, I would drum roll, but my mic won't pick it up.
It's Black Mesa. It's the remake of Half-Life 1 that we're going to be playing. I've been wanting to play it for a long time, and I was going to wait for the Steam Deck, but I'm just gonna play it now.
Hype.
Now it's hype for it.
I just realised something.
Who knows?
Go on.
We were supposed to come to this in costume, weren't we? I've completely forgotten about that.
I've only ordered my Halloween costume today, so it's not coming until tomorrow.
I completely forgot that was a thing.
No, You've come as Genji, Niall.
That's true, yeah,
fine.
it's
Genji
Genji.
and Reinhardt as well.
Genji from the Overwatch team.
Genji,
Genji.
yeah. Genji.
Yeah. So
Oliver came as Metroid.
I came as Metroid.
He's the kid from Niall's story.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be Black Mesa. It's going. So this episode's going on Halloween. Apologies, we're not in costume.
Just pretend.
I'll just pretend. I'm dressing as Lilo for Halloween, so that should be fun.
From the Stitch.
Not
From
even
Stitch,
Stitch.
yeah. No, I'm not Stitch. No, I'm Lilo. I'm gonna be a bearded bloke in a dress. It's gonna be great. Lauren's going as Stitch.
Right.
Right.
She's got a onesie. It'll be fun. I'll send you pictures.
You're gonna get cancelled.
Why am I gonna
Sorry.
get cancelled?
I don't know. I just felt there's something wrong about.
Hey, men can wear dresses. You're gonna get cancelled, Louis.
No,
It's
no,
good job I don't know
don't
your
wear any
face.
dresses. Just be a Lilo.
You're already cancelled.
Right, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Right.
It's fine. Cool. Right.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad we got to the bottom of that. So yeah, next month is going to be Black Mesa. That'll go out on the 30th of November. We've also been doing a video game quiz, haven't we? A nice little video game pub quiz. We did that on Wednesday this week, and that's out on the channel. Go and watch that. It's 25 questions. It's quite good. And I think we're going to start doing it regularly. We need to talk to the boss, really, don't we, Niall?
Yeah.
So-
If
so-
we're gonna
so-
do it,
Yeah.
every Wednesday, probably.
My dude.
Yeah.
So it won't be this Wednesday because we're doing a state of play. Unless we want to do both of them at the same time.
We could. Well, we wouldn't have time for it. Hey, we'll talk about it after. This is
Yeah.
behind the scenes talk. So yeah, we got that as well. Look out on the channel for that. If you want to know when the next quiz is going to be, check our socials. We'll post it on there. We go follow our social medias. We're Crab Studios everywhere but Twitter, in which we are Studios Crab. I particularly recommend checking out our TikToks. Got highlights from the quiz, highlight from the podcast, highlights of whatever games we're playing. There's a lot to do. Also, like, subscribe, etc. Yeah. Anything else from anyone else?
No.
Just end the podcast. Though.
Just
End
end
the
it. Just end
podcast.
it.
It's the most long-winded ending ever.
I'm telling people this.
It's
You know
ended,
what?
it's ended.
You know what? Goodbye. Fuck you.
Bye.